Antrim County is a passionate community filled with over 2,000 veterans. Antrim County Veterans Affairs promises to keep the military tradition of caring for our brothers and sisters alive. We at ACVA thank you for your service and are proud for the opportunity to serve our county's veterans. And now for our feature presentation.
Hello, I'm Libby from Antrim County Veterans Affairs, and we have a new video for you. We've got Braverd and Donna Buckwheat from Acts 2, the Root Ministry, here to give us some information on their program here in our Antrim County community.
I'm Donna. This is my husband, Braverd, and the ministry we do is called Restoring the Foundations Ministry. And really the ministry is what we call an inner healing and restoration ministry, and it really deals with people that have been through any level of hurt and pain. It could be a level 1 all the way up to a level 10. Means God's really interested in healing everything about us where there's been brokenness. And part of what we focus on and part of what our heart's been is to also work with our veterans, which is why we're here today to talk a little bit about that. Even though it's for everybody and we're willing to work with anybody who wants to have more information about the ministry, we really have a heart for our veterans, to see them be all that they can be once they've come out and transitioned out of the service. We want to be a part of helping them heal from the trauma that they've been through. We want to be a part of just giving back to them after they've served us and done everything they can to help us to be all we are in this great nation. And so we would advise people maybe to get a hold of us. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. There is a cost for the ministry. However, what we want to do is to be able to be a blessing to our veterans. So we do offer discounts for them to come and spend some time with us. There's different levels of the ministry, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in a minute, and how we're going to walk through that with people. But we just invite people to really realize that for us, we believe that the Lord is interested in healing people's hearts and the brokenness that they have encountered through life. And so for our veterans, we just want to say we love you, and we just want to be a part of everything God wants to do with you on this side of the fence, so to speak, to be there for you, to help you to heal. We believe that there's so much more out there for you than just having to live the way you live. And so
we know we all have a passion for our veterans. I can't, it's definitely, noticeable. And we can't thank you guys enough for coming out and, telling us about your program and hopefully getting this out there to everybody as well. You guys are doing a really awesome job. So I know we had a brief description of, the program and then tailoring it to the veterans and stuff like this, that it's not necessarily only for veterans, right? It's for anybody who needs the help, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. So, I know you guys have established and are working forward to, your future plans. Do you have ideas of what that looks like?
Part of the long-term scope of the vision for what we're doing, especially out on the ministry property, stuff like that, is number one, providing a safe place for our veterans and even active duty military that could be even still in active duty, helping them walk through dealing post-traumatic stress or really anything, and even family issues, because one of the things we want to do is we focus on the whole family, not just the person that is on the front lines, whether it's which spouse it is. The other thing we want to do is help the restoration with whoever's on the front lines, with their wife, with their husband, and with their children. So focus on that. We also have a heart to be able to work and provide hope and healing for Gold Star recipients that are out there, and we know that there's plenty in the area and the surrounding areas and stuff like that. And so the goal is to move forward to setting up what we feel is a 501c3, providing scholarships, providing what we can do to help our veterans and bring healing and wholeness into their lives. And so Long-term, yes, probably more than that, but for the scope of providing the hope for that, that's what we have. And we also, temporary, if they need to travel some, we have houses on the property, brand new occupancy where they could come and they could stay, depending on what they're looking for. So.
Which is really huge. That's awesome.
Yeah.
They're really cool too. I know we kind of discussed a little bit about going down. I'm gonna throw a little bit of a curveball here. You did mention about active duty being able to participate in this as well.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean that you might have capabilities to do this online over web services or anything like that?
Mm-hmm. We can, obviously over the last couple of years, Zoom has become very popular.
Yeah.
And we have utilized that, and those of us that do what we do in Restoring the Foundations Ministry have utilized it and worked with people around the world. I mean, they've done training seminars and different things like that. So Zoom is a wonderful tool out there that if, say, they're stationed in wherever, I mean, and want to do a weekly session or do something, we can over Zoom. That's very possible and it's doable.
So Donna, you mentioned the ministry part of that. Does a veteran or whomever is coming to see you, do they have to be religious to take part in the program?
Okay. There are 3 different ways we minister. One is a week-long ministry, Restoring the Foundations Ministry, which is biblically based. It's principle based out of the Bible. So for that, yes, we do have to be Christian, only because part of what we do for the person as we're walking them through a week of ministry. And what that week entails is basically taking them from things that have happened early on in their life through their childhood all the way up to the present day and trying to find the roots as to why they still feel angry, the roots as to why they're still dealing with issues in their life that they can't get past. And because the ministry is biblically based, it's meant for believers to come and deal with, because there's a lot of wounded people in the church, military, non-military, right?
Yeah.
There's just a lot of people in the church that love the Lord, but they're just wounded and they can't get past that woundedness. And so we spend that time for a whole week. There's another aspect where we just do what we call prayer ministry, where people can ask, hey, can I come and spend a day with you, some time with you, where, we can pray over people by our faith. No, you don't have to be a Christian for that. The Lord wants to touch everybody, we believe, and show who He is. And so there's a lot of times the Lord will just minister through us to people that are just wanting that. So whether, for that part of the ministry, no. So whether you're veteran or non-veteran, we talked about this being for anybody and everybody. We're looking to say to people, listen, if you want to go through a week of ministry, the different aspects of it, which is you come and you spend 6 or 7 days with us, depending on what's going on, and we work with you little by little each day, or you want to come just for a 3-hour session where it's like, hey, I've got this one thing bothering me, can we deal with that? Or if you just say, let's focus on post-traumatic stress. Let's just say, Lord, what do you want to do in their lives to bring healing right now? And then, especially localized, they can come back maybe once a week, and we can continue just little by little to help them walk through some of those traumatic incidences that they've experienced through the war, through whatever's gone on in their life. So that way we can get rid of that. So that way they don't have to have the post-traumatic stress the rest of their lives. So yes and no, depending on what aspect of the ministry you want to walk through with us.
So you did mention time periods. What would a typical time period, or is there any kind of dedication? They have to be there for a certain amount of time, constantly with you guys before, during this process, or is this a come and go? Is this how does the program work, so to speak, as far as the time?
Okay.
So if you're talking about the week-long ministry, we minister to singles and couples. You don't have to necessarily be married. We obviously focus on everybody. And we've ministered to people as young as 14. Anything younger than that, there's some specialized stuff you'd have to go through, but we focus more from that age group up. So when you're talking the week-long ministry for a single person, it's focused 3 hours a day, 5 days. And that is what we call a thorough format ministry, where we're actually sitting with them every day, both of us, my husband and I. So it's not, we don't separate out, we always minister together, where they would come and spend that week. They could say, if they're local, they can come and go, obviously from the house. If they're coming from out of state, the guest houses are open for them to stay in. So that's very focused. Like we are like, this is what we're working on every day. We work on something every day for 3 to 4 hours with them. Then there's a part of the ministry that we call just an issue-focused ministry, where it just takes 3 hours. It's like somebody comes in and says, you know, this is something I'm struggling with in my life. I really want to figure out why I can't get past this one issue. And we'll spend 3 or 4 hours with them just dealing with that issue. And so the time frame vary depending on what you're looking for, the scope of how much you want to deal with any given time. And then again, the prayer ministry can be, you know, a veteran calls us and says, hey, you know, can I come spend some time with them? Well, we'll spend as much time as we need to in that day, you know, whatever that looks like for him individually. And then if he says, you know, can I come back in a week or so and do a little bit more? So that's really going to depend on, again, how much they want, where they're willing to go. There's always some pre-ministry work that we do with anybody where we send them some teachings and stuff so they can get a little more information of what we do. So when they come, they already know, okay, this is what the Buckwheats are going to be doing with them through this part of the ministry. So it opens up. So we don't want them to come and not know, what am I really getting myself into?
Right.
So we always give them stuff ahead of time to read or whatever, so they really know what our focus is going to be with them.
I know we touched on what happens when they are at your place doing the program. What are some of the processes to get that started? Like where does someone start to contact you guys and get things going?
I'm going to defer to the administration of the ministry on that question.
Some people find us through the website, Restoring the Foundations. They'll go on because they're like, okay, I can't do this anymore. There's got to be help for me. And so they go to the website, and the website has all of the people that do this ministry on there, so they can find out who's locally, or we have people that, most of the people come are not local. They're word of mouth by somebody else who's been through the ministry that say, hey, you really need to go spend some time with these guys. You know, that's just an amazing program. That's where we get most of our ministry from. So they do that by word of mouth. Obviously, we will be giving information, I'm sure at the end, our own personal email and our own personal phone numbers if they want to contact us personally. So that's how we really get started. And normally we will do a Zoom. Braverd's usually that person. He'll do an initial Zoom with them. So they get to meet him or get to meet us, and they'll tell us a little bit of what they're looking for. And then from that point on, we move to where they want to go. And then we can say, okay, then this is the part of ministry you want to do. Oh, no, I just want to do this piece. Okay, then we will set up dates and times from that point on and how to line them up, get them on the schedule so they can start coming in.
I know you've had experience helping veterans. Can you give me an idea of like an interaction you've had with a veteran where it's changed your life or anything like that, or the family of a veteran as well? You know, like, have you actually seen this work and you know, really have a positive impact?
Probably the two, first of all, everything we do is confidential. It never leaves the 4 walls of our house. He was a 28-year Special Forces, 15 tours, back in the old school days when tours weren't 6 months. They had one time he was gone for 1.5 years, and he came back, and the initial time is him and his wife came up and they spent a week with us, and then we went back down there, and to watch what the healing that God did in his life, and that just at that first week time. And in that midst of that first week time, there was specific things out of that 15 tours that he did that he looked at every day. There was probably more, obviously, but there was a few things that did that got him over the hump. That got him to a place where he could connect with his wife. He reestablished a relationship with his children, that you know, she held the family together while he was gone. Just that initial time, that first week, we went and met with him again. We were at their home and helped him. There was another situation that came up, and he says, hey, I've got this thing, it keeps coming up. I've been able to bury it for a while. He says, I'm not going to bury it anymore. And we spent 3 to 4 hours with him, and it's amazing. I mean, you just watch the transformation sitting in front of you when a person all of a sudden deals, because one of the things with trauma is if we address it and focus with it, it gets us out of that spiral or that vortex of the seclusion, the isolation, the secretiveness, and it brings it up to the surface and deal with it one last time. Let's talk about it one last time and bring healing into it.
So, is there any way that we can have, or that anybody can actually donate to you guys' program, or do you accept donations or anything like that to help support it?
Through our missions organization, it is a 501c3 organization. All the funds that we have raised for the building project, for the houses and the development of the ministry, all go through there. They are a top tier rated Billy Graham ACVA accountability. So every penny, especially when you're married to a administrative, every penny is accounted for, every penny goes there, and so it's tax deductible. It can go to a specific place when they donate there. And eventually, obviously, as Livy asked, the future for the 501c3, that'll be really focused on the donations specific, that not only for scholarship funds, for people that come to help, but also to finish up the development of the property for a nice place for people to come.
One of the things with the property is anybody who comes, even, just had people there on the property this last few weeks. We don't charge for people to stay in the housing. If people want to donate a little something when they leave, just to offset some of the costs as far as, the heat or whatever for the week or whatever, but we don't charge for people to come and stay, because that's our goal, is to never have the veterans ever pay for anything that they come for. I mean, that is our heart. We're not there yet, but that's our heart. To be able to do that for them, that they don't ever have an expense on their plate. They don't need to have that expense. They've already paid the price. So they need to not pay the price anymore.
Is what you guys would say to any veteran that is out there, now I want to focus this more on the veterans, that maybe on the fence about coming and getting help, whether it's, with you or something like that, or maybe they found their own kind of coping mechanism, even though it's not healthy for them, right? They find ways to push that down. What would one thing be that you would say to them to help guide them or push them into, maybe seeing or getting help from somewhere?
Well, both of us, my husband and I, both come from
Backgrounds where we've come out of different addictions and have come from hurtful and painful situations where our coping mechanisms was anything that you can find to help you deal with the pain. And we were very blessed then to obviously get our own healing, and that's why we do what we do. We always tell the people that come for ministry, it's like going to Planet Fitness. It's a non-judgment zone. We don't judge anybody. We don't have a right to judge anybody. Our heart is just to help people deal with what's going on in their lives. We don't want them to feel shamed or embarrassed or anything about what they've done. We love you, veterans. We just want you to know that no judgment zone. And the only way to get healing, really, from the pain, you're either going to do two things. You're either going to connect and stay connected to the pain and then find a way to cope with it, or you're going to allow, and I know this is hard, trust people to help you to walk through that the best that we can. And so we'll either be our own self-protectors and isolate and withdraw and deal with it through drugs, alcohol, whatever we're doing to help stop the pain, or we're going to try to find somebody to help us and connect with people on a level to the best that they can. And I know that's hard for some people, especially veterans. We're just here to whatever level will let us jump in with both feet, so to speak, as hard as that may be at times. And we're willing to talk again with anybody ahead of time if that makes them feel comfortable. More one-on-one. They can pick our brains for anything. They can ask us anything about our own lives. We're an open book. If that's what it takes for them to feel comfortable with us enough to begin that trust process, feel safe with us to come. So just know that even though everybody's difficulties are different, trauma affects everybody differently, but at the same, we all have our own coping mechanisms. And so even though we haven't been through what you've been through, we're just really desiring, just to be there.
Well, I cannot thank you guys enough for everything that you're doing and being willing to bring this message out forward. We're here to help in any way, shape, form.
We're all here for our veterans. We're here for our community. So
Thank you guys for the mission that you guys have, began and endeavoring on and continuing the fight moving forward.
You're very welcome.
For more information about the Buckwheat Ministries, dial 231-533-8499.